Good day, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Albino Rhino Beer Review. Today you have the Rhino, and we're drinking a beer that was brewed in Canada, but it's from a brewery in Sweden. Do you know what that means? Means it's an Omnipollo beer. Omnipollo, the brewery that gives you very little information, even who makes it. Unless you, see, very little info. Unless you go and find the little bit they give, and that is not very friendly coloration. But this is a light beer. It's an India Pale Ale, brewed and canned by Omnipollo in Toronto, Ontario. Represented by Craft Brand Company in Toronto, Ontario. Product of Canada. Who is it? Is it Common Good or People's Pint? Which I don't remember who makes Omnipollo's beer in Canada. I think it's Common Good Brewing that makes... because there are a few breweries in Toronto that for the most part are contract brewers for other places. And a lot of the beers they contract brew are beers from other country that are getting past excise laws and everything else by being brewed here under contract by somebody else. So the recipe's given to them, or they send somebody over to brew it, whichever way they do it. But I know the People's Pint used to do some. I know Cool Beer does some. Not saying that they're doing Omnipollo, but they do a lot of contract brewing. I know that Common Good was doing a lot of contract brewing. There's a whole bunch of them. If they have any excess overhead, if they have any excess fermenting space, they will contract it out to other breweries. And there's a lot of American breweries that brew in Ontario now. There's a lot of breweries from around the world that have brewed in Ontario. I know even Collective Arts has done some for their Liquid Arts festivals. So it's an interesting thing. You can't really read this, but this is Fatamorgana, and it's the Fatamorgana Folk. Because Fatamorgana is a double IPA. The Fatamorgana Folk is a 3.5% alcohol session IPA. And I mean, that's really all I can read back there. There's wheat, oats, hops, malted barley, water. We have a lot of untaps on this. Omnipollo almost always gets really good marks, so I'm kind of surprised by this because there's 4.5 thousand tap-ins and 3.25 is the weighted thing. There was one was tapped in 2 hours ago at Cuckoo's Nest Folk Club, and it was a 4.5 out of 10. There's another one that was tapped in 3 hours ago that was given a 4.25 out of 5, 2.75 out of 5. There was another one really good and low ABV, but somehow really good only gets you a 3.25. That was 5 hours ago. Then we have some being tapped from the Swedish brewery, not from the one here in Canada. So I mean, it's one of those weird things too, right? Because there's so many different places where it's being made. Well, I don't know if there's many different places that it's being made, but there's at least 2 different places it's being made. So it's a totally different beer both ways. So who is deciding where it sits in this weighted scale, right? So it's an interesting thing. And the best part about this whole endeavor and this looking this stuff up is just trying to figure out what the fuck goes on up there? Like, you can't come downstairs because somebody's fucking trying to fall through the 100-year-old house's floor. Here's something I've decided, though, as I sit down here in this 100-year-old house. The fact that this was an apartment is scary because you would hear every single thing that's done upstairs. Now, you can't necessarily hear every single thing I do down here, but if you were to go upstairs and sit and walk around the house and all that, I could hear where you are the entire time. You turn on your TV, I can hear your TV. You play music, I can hear that. So it's one of those things where I'm sitting here going, really? Really? This was an apartment. Even my 35-pound daughter makes the floors creak. But I mean, it's a 100-year-old house, so it is what it is. So Fatamorgana Folk. Hazy Crazy, beautiful straw yellow color, beautiful bright white head, very frothy, very frothy. I got some frothy head. Yeah. Okay, scent from the can first. Woo! That's very resinous. I would not expect that much of a resiny, bitter note on the nose. And when I say resiny for my scent, when I'm smelling something and I say resiny, I mean it sticks. The bitterness sticks to the nostrils and everything. It stays there for a little bit. But that's very resiny, very floral, little syrupy smelling, very sweet. And citrus notes, but very much like the oily skin, the pith, and all that shit. Out of the glass. Oh, wait, look at that. Those colors, somewhat the same. Not quite, but somewhat. Actually, out of the glass, I don't really get anything. Cheers. Okay, here's what I'm going to say. For a 3.5% alcohol beer, that probably has more flavor than most 3.5% alcohol beers I've ever had. Second only to maybe like some English milds and stuff. I really like that. I really do. It has a bitterness that sticks around. It is resiny. It's bitter, but it's not overly bitter. I don't know what the IBUs are on this, but I would... Can you get that on Untapped? I'm guessing somewhere in the 25 to 35 range. Because it just doesn't come off all that. Oh, it says 65. Wow. I would never have guessed 65 IBU. Like I said, I would have guessed in the 25 to 35 range. However, there are 7 IBU beers. 7 IBU is also the rating that is usually given to Coors Light. But there is 7 IBU craft beers that are very hoppy. And then there's Coors Light. So, I mean, different hops will affect you differently dependent on the IBUs and all that. But so I would never have guessed over 50 ever. Soft, smooth. There is that syrupy sweetness. There is that syrupy and resiny finish. Again, very, very minute though. If this was a 6% alcohol beer, I probably wouldn't like it. At this 3.5 where everything, all the flavors are there. All the flavors I don't like in an IPA are there, but they're so mellow that I actually kind of like them. Oh, excuse me. Fruity, syrupy, a resiny bitterness that is not overpowering. That's a very easy drinking beer. And that's going to get an 8.25 out of 10 from me. I really like that. I really do. Again, not an IPA guy, but this is a session IPA that IPA guys and not IPA guys alike could love. Because all the flavors are there. The flavors you are supposed to get in an IPA are there. They're just very mellow. And that's great to me. Anyway, guys, thank you. Bye-bye.